Dropping in the theaters this week is actually a brand new thriller called Drop. But when you drop by this review, I bet you were wondering, should you drop everything and go and see it? Or did this movie drop the ball? And if you think I'm overdoing the puns, just wait until you see how much this movie overdoes the sound of a vibrating cell phone. In the movie Drop, you have a single mother who's finally starting to date again. She's been talking to this guy for months, really likes him, he's almost too good to be true. On this first date, they finally meet up at this restaurant and somebody starts sending her these cryptic demands throughout the night via cell phone. If you're unfamiliar, it's not exactly text. You can drop something to somebody's phone anonymously if you're within like 50 to 100 feet of them. But that's what's going on. She's at this restaurant. She doesn't know who's threatening her, but she knows it's somebody in her vicinity. And they're making these cryptic demands and threats saying she has to comply to whatever they say throughout the night. Otherwise, they will kill her son. Now, this is a PG-13 thriller movie. My expectations were tempered, but honestly, actually kind of enjoyed this movie for what it was trying to do. And I only think the reason that works is because the two leads in this movie, both the single mother and the guy she's on a date with, are really likable. It's not necessarily the acting. I think they're both good, but I think both of these characters make you care about the result for both of them because they are good people. The single mother in this, you really sympathize with her because she's finally getting into the dating world again. She clearly cares about her kid. And she's a victim of abuse, so there's a lot of empathy points there that you can get behind this character and root for her to overcome this. And I gotta talk about the guy she's on a date with. This guy might be the reason women have an unrealistic standard for men. I mean, this guy might be the most patient man on earth. I would go to war with this man. This guy is such a good guy. No self-respecting man would have the patience that this man has throughout this night on this date. If you've ever been on a bad date, this is like the creme de la creme of terrible dates. And this man does not flinch. This man might be the most selfless person I have ever met because me, I'm cashing out of that date after 10 minutes. So when you're with these two characters, they're both very likable. They're both good people and you want them both to get out of this scenario. But given what this movie has the characters do, it kind of feels insurmountable and stressful because you don't really see a way out of that. And before you even get into the thrilling stuff, I think this movie does a really good job of capturing the awkwardness of a first date. I actually think I might like this movie more as like a setup than the actual thriller parts that come after the half-an-hour mark. I just liked getting to meet these characters, this environment, how awkward it is, very realistic, very relatable. So I had a good time with the entire setup of this movie. And as the movie's building up, before you even get into the full-on thriller stuff, I thought this movie had a good amount of comedic relief as well. There's one character in particular, the waiter they have at their table, disgustingly realistic, having worked in the service industry of like how awkward some of these guys can be. But I thought his character was very funny and I thought he was a consistent comedic relief that really helped to break up the setup of this. So between the rom-com angle of this, the awkwardness of the date, his comedic relief, I really enjoyed all of the setup of this. I thought it was building up to be something very fun. This is a movie, be warned. It requires 100% suspension of disbelief. This might be the single dumbest movie ever when it comes to like, that could never actually happen. A movie came out last year, there was a lot of debate about Trap. Like it was so stupid at the concert. This movie might be twice as dumb and unrealistic as Trap. So no, going into this, if you're somebody who can't turn your brain off, everything is hyper realistic, you will hate this movie 100%. But if you're somebody who doesn't mind turning your brain off a little bit, you want to watch a little bit of a mindless thriller, I think you can have a lot of fun with this film. I also like the way this movie is filmed because instead of just having her look at the phone every single time it vibrates, because that would be like hundreds of times, no joke, they keep having the text pop up on screen like in the trailer, and I actually really like that as a stylistic choice. I'm sick of movies that just have you text or look at a person's phone as if you're that person. I'm glad this movie tried something else, and I think it does make it stand out stylistically, and it makes it feel a little bit more unique than every other cell phone movie. But as for the movie itself, you have these two people on a date, awkward as hell, and somebody is threatening this woman to do stuff, otherwise they'll kill her son back at home. And a problem I think this movie struggles with when it becomes a thriller, it's kind of insurmountable, as I already said. A lot of movies like this kind of struggle with this because it's so impossibly tense of a situation, you see no way out for this character. She is completely surrounded. So as a viewer, you want a certain outcome for one or both of these characters, and there's just no way you can get to that point realistically, hence the suspension of disbelief because it just kind of goes apeshit at the end. In my opinion though, the biggest issue I have with this film, this is a movie with a really interesting hook, intriguing enough setup, But as it kept going, I just felt like this is a movie that really loses steam in the second half. I know a lot of people are going to really like the ending. But for me, this is a movie that like the entire middle 45 minutes felt very repetitive. Like they kept finding things for these people to do. Someone would leave the table, somebody would go to the bathroom, and it just kept kind of repeating over and over again to get them isolated. Because if you have two people sit at a table, there's not a whole lot to be done. You're like looking directly into the eyes of somebody. You can't do anything. So it just felt very rinse and repeat to me to get these people isolated from one another so that you could actually progress this story. And as I've said a couple of times, the way they choose to do that is what a lot of these movies do. It just gets more ridiculous by the time. It requires you to just turn your brain off or you will question everything. And I couldn't help but feel like as the movie was going on, there was a lot of stuff that was going on that should have packed a punch, and it just didn't feel very impactful. Like a lot of PG-13 movies to me, it was like a lot of extreme events were happening, but I kind of didn't care. I was entertained, but I didn't care. So I don't know if that was just me or if that's how you guys felt as well. I would be very curious. It didn't feel like anything packed a punch. Like there was no stakes to stuff that felt like it should have had some. But overall, I thought this movie was enjoyable for what it was. I had a good enough time with it. One time watch for sure. I would never watch this movie again. But I did have a good time with it. If you're into thrillers, you're into things that you don't mind turning your brain off, I recommend you go check this movie out. I think it's a good time. If you did get around to seeing Drop already or you plan on seeing it, comment down below. Let me know what you think. And as always, if you haven't subscribed, join me down below. Love talking movies with you, but I will see you in the next review. Peace!